And the shit get brighter, like, you know what I'm
You
saying?
good? You
Yeah,
good?
bro.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Friday Special Podcast. I'm your boy Friday, aka 1K, aka the Visionary, and we back. I know it's been a long time, but we ain't gonna talk about that. We ain't gonna talk about that. Go ahead and get into it. So today we got a man of the community. You know what I'm saying? Let's say I should have already had it turned to the page. All right.
Got me on Front Street, bro.
Yeah, all right. So, soon to be 8-year Army veteran, medical behavioral health specialist, CEO of Ziairecloset, and fashion enthusiast. We got the man right here, Will Murphy.
What's going on, y'all?
What's up? What's up? So, I know it's been a long time since I did an episode. You know, it's been a long year, right? But we trying to get back into it. You know what I'm saying? So this right here is the vision going into 2025. You feel me? So all year long, all year long. So first of all, how you been doing, man?
I'm blessed, dog. You know, I can't really complain, bro. And
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
me well. I mean, the people who are viewing wouldn't be knowing
Mhm.
me, obviously, but we've been good, man.
That's what's
We've
up.
been on the up and
So I really wanted to bring him on because this dude is a really real down to earth man, bro. Like y'all know this podcast is all about bringing on real people to talk about real things. You feel me? So it's only right. Uh, this podcast is not exclusive to anybody. You know, anybody can be on this. You know, anybody can come on here and talk about topics. We just love to have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? So tell us about a little about where you're from, bro.
I'm from Detroit, Michigan, 313 East Side, 7 8 Mile Van Dyke area. If you know, you know. If you don't, it's all right. Um, uh, I'm adopted, you know, so I spent most of my life in Michigan in general, but raised by two single moms who did amazing jobs and contributed a lot to why I'm here, being interviewed by this great guy.
Yeah. All right. So needless to say, humble beginnings. But how is Detroit? I ain't gonna lie, you know, when I think about Detroit, you know, you think about Eminem, you know, 313, like you just said. But like how is it, you know, in reality? Cause when I think about Detroit, you know, I'm thinking about just straight slums.
Yeah,
But, you know, and sometimes in the media it could be portrayed one way, you know, and there could be more dynamic to, you know, where that place is, you know. So
yeah,
maybe it's not just slums, maybe it's not just that, you know, maybe there's more dynamic to it. So
yeah.
what's up with that?
Um, I think the one word that I would personally tell anybody when you ask to describe my city is it's got to be hustle. Um, and I mean, this obviously subjective to some people, right? Some people think hustling is, you know, immoral, could be illegal. Some people will probably just describe it as controversial,
Hmm.
right? But I mean, I think my city embodies that because some people that have the knowledge, right, and kind of know a lot of the corruption, a lot of the negativity, a lot of the crime and things that do constantly kind of happen there. There's also this beautiful aspect of like resilience and continued, you know, like coming back, right? So just being able to go through such dark times and then still kind of show positive side, positive aspect, right? I mean, I think
Hmm.
this current year, right, our football team is a great example. I mean, most people have
Hmm.
known for the last 10 years, right? The Lions arguably have been, if not literally, but close to the worst team in the
Yeah,
NFL.
Lions was pretty
Like,
bad.
I mean, there was literally, I think it was what, 2021, 2022, we literally went 0-16,
Yeah,
bro. Like, that is,
that's crazy. I can't talk too much because I ain't gonna lie, I'm a Saints fan. We ain't been like that in a while, but yeah, whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
look at y'all.
But, right, ironically, you look at this year, we are 12-1. This year, we're 11-1. I don't know if we won last night, you know, the German
Hmm.
time difference
Hmm.
definitely messes you
Yeah.
up. But as far as I know, we are 11-1, at least, if not 12-1 as of today. Number one team in the NFL, right? And that was in
Hmm.
a 2-year time span of the same year where we had the record 0-16.
Yeah, I know I didn't get to say it at the beginning, but we are coming all the way from Germany.
Mm.
So depending on where you live, depending on where you at, it's about a 6 to 8 uh hour time difference. That's why he said over here. So when they playing over there, we ain't watching. We probably asleep over here.
Yeah,
But man, when I hear people talk about Detroit, you know, there's a lot of despite a lot of the stuff that goes on, like what you were saying, there's like a lot of pride, you
yeah,
know, for
yeah,
you know the city and everything. So like, I know you had that pride. I know you got that tattoo. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a big
Detroit.
deal for me, man.
Yeah, y'all see it. But so born and raised from Detroit, right?
Yeah,
And now you're all the way out here in Germany.
yeah.
Come a long way to say the least. Like, so how did that come about?
Right. You would understand. Some people who know me know. Right. Obviously in the army. Um, this is my second contract, and it's funny because like a lot of people probably wouldn't believe this, but people that do know me personally, but know I've been saying this since I was maybe 14, 15, and I frankly can't tell you where it came from, but I
Hmm.
always told people, one, I wanted to join the army. I always just felt like college and school at the time wasn't for me, right? The kind of lifestyle upbringing that the typical like person has in our inner city, right? There's a lot of lack of structure,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was just something I could get in the army. So did a contract, did pretty well. Was able to make E5 sergeant, right? I made that right before I
Hmm.
ended up moving over here. So the month before I moved here, I literally got promoted, and I'd always
Hmm.
told people that I was not going to leave the army until I traveled Europe on Army's dime, right? And that was just something that I was so patient with and consistent and persistent about that. Like I remember like telling a recruiter like, "Yeah, I'll get out." Like I was playing the
Yeah.
chicken game. I was telling them like I waited like the last month or two of my contract, and I was like, "Look, man, either you give me a spot in Germany, or like I'm gone." Like, and then so they made that happen, and then fast forward right over 2.5 years, here we are.
Yeah. You don't. How many places you done been? 'Cause I
I
know you
mean,
done been to a good amount of.
I have, but mostly just for missions and stuff. But I've seen
Hmm.
Oklahoma, Texas, South Carolina, Augusta, Georgia, Atlanta, Fort Stewart, a lot of those outlying
Hmm.
bases, and then over here, Germany. But I've done a lot of missions, travel all through Germany as well as like a little bit of Italy. So
Yeah.
outside of leisure, right? Even with the army, definitely got to see a lot of places for
Yeah.
sure.
What European countries you done been to?
Um,
I mean,
been
of
to
course Germany,
man, I've
but
been to
yeah.
Portugal, Spain, Austria. Um, where else? Blank. Some of them I'm not gonna say for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Of course. Yeah.
But I've been to Switzerland, Netherlands, a few others,
Man,
but
that's crazy. Since I've been out here, I've been to a couple countries. I'm not gonna lie, you know, Europe is so different from the US, man. Like for all the people out there, like if you haven't been, you should go. You know, coming over here, like really, and I've said it before. You know, it really expanded my mind. I'm sure that it's been the same for you.
yeah, for sure.
Um, One of the biggest things that's been different out here for me is probably like the food and stuff. Like he can probably say it better than me, and we're gonna get into that. But like, where's like the best food that you done had?
Well,
Cause
that's tough, bro.
I
We
know
like
you
to
love
eat.
to mess with some steak.
I do, biased, but I think best is subjective. You got to give me a little more than that, right? Because it's hard to say.
Hmm.
Because how Europe is like, certain areas have
Yeah.
certain cultural foods that are better than others. But I think depends on what you're looking for. Now, if we're
Hmm.
talking quality, I would have to say Spain, man. I feel like Spain got it. People will tell you Portugal. I didn't personally like Portugal's food that much. I
Hmm.
just a lot of beans, a lot of like Portuguese like home cooked
Man,
dishes.
I've heard
I
that a
just couldn't
lot.
get jiggy with. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, man. I've heard so many good things about Spain.
I love Spain, bro. I'm biased, but
Man,
I do love Spain, bro.
I've heard so many good things about Spain. Like literally, I don't know why I haven't just gone yet. Uh, I need to just stop being such a homebody,
We
man.
can go, bro. What's
I'm
up? We can go. Like, let me know.
Hey
We got
man,
time. We got time.
I told him, man, I was like, bro, like I'm always like when it comes to going out, I'm always say no. Like I'm gonna always say no because I'm such a homebody. But I've been like trying to every time I step out, I be trying to like break out of that that habit of like just being a homebody all the time. Like, cause I'm all the way out here in a different country, and a lot of people wouldn't get this chance. I know me and him can both relate on the aspect of looks like the light cut out. Um, I know we can both relate on the aspect of like not thinking that you would ever be here,
Yeah.
in such a far away country. But I think that um it's such a great experience. So you've been in how long?
I've been on over 6.5, almost 7 years now.
Almost 7 years. Almost 7 years. So how has that? How do you feel like your time over the past 6, 7 years has really like shaped you?
Being in the army specifically.
Just in or
Uh,
being in the army, but yeah, just in general. How has this experience changed you? Because there's some people I know two of my boys. Shout out to them. Um, One just came in, and then one of them is on the fence about it. And people always ask service members ask us, uh, like, what is it like, or
yeah.
should I do it? I would argue that we really like we have recruiters obviously, but people that are in it are really the recruiters because people are calling us and
Yeah.
asking us what we think.
Nah, for
So
sure, bro. I've definitely inadvertently recruited people. I'm like, that wasn't my
yeah,
intention.
like it's not even your intention. But now that you are coming to the end,
Yeah.
like I bet you probably been doing like a lot of reflecting.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's so odd though? I think it kind of helps go like into answering your question. Part of the culture of being army, you understand like that constantly moving, right? Having something to do, like focusing on the progression and what's next. Even
Mm-hmm.
now, right? Like being close to the finish line, right? Way over almost over half a year left, right? Like you still on a day to day, I feel like just don't really stop and reflect. Maybe as much as I personally believe it is healthy for the human to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, right, whether that was me in counseling sessions or in sessions with other service members or patients talking about that, or just right when I do find the time and things start to slow down, kind of how they have now at this stage of my career, to think like, hey, what have I done? How has this played a role in who I am now? And like, what do I want to take from this going forward?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you still just don't do it enough. Like the average person has maybe understood or hopefully comes to understand that they should be doing. Because I feel like you're actually not actually progressing as a person at the level that you probably could be if you're not taking the time to reflect on who you used to be. You know what
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what's your official title?
I mean? Behavioral health technician, specialist, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it. It
behavior health.
varies, but 68 X-rays, the MOS for the
Yeah,
Army
yeah,
lingo.
behavior health, man. That mental health, man. Telling you is paramount. But is this your first time doing like an interview or doing something like this?
I would say a podcast specifically. And our generation
Hmm.
is kind of everybody's kind of growing into the podcasting. I guess I
Yeah.
would technically say yes, but at the same time, no, because I went to college for a couple years.
Hmm.
My first year, I actually majored in film and media, well, communications with the emphasis in film and media.
Hmm.
So I got a couple experiences kind of doing stuff on camera a little bit then. I also did some theater in college, but I would say officially, right, in a full sit down setting to actually hope that this would be
Hmm.
seen by other viewers. I would consider it the first still, yeah.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it can be a little awkward. Just a little bit. Cause
Yeah.
like I mean the camera's right there and we sit here talking in front of it. It's like it's like you if you ain't ever done it before, it's kind of like it kind of feels awkward because it's like you're trying to like create conversation
Right.
out of like nothing when you're so used to it coming like naturally.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's I like to ask that question sometimes on and off camera, just cause I feel like when I do this for the first time with people, like, it kind of feels like a little awkward. So that's why I was asking you. But no, a lot of people. There are a lot of podcasts out there. I ain't gonna lie. Um, I was a little discouraged to start this because of that, and I was like, man, like, it's so much like shit out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like why should I? But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I'ma just do me,
yeah.
and then we just gonna move forward with that. But now that you know you're at the end and you're looking towards the future, what what is next for you?
College full time. Right. We
Mm,
understand as service members, right, kind of some of the benefits. College, I think, is very ironic because I said at the beginning of the conversation, right? I joined the military because I felt that
mhm,
college wasn't something I was particularly ready for, or something that I maybe seen the value in, like I should have.
mhm,
And then you join the army, you eventually realize that you still need college, right? Like, and that's something they don't tell you, right? They're like, oh,
mhm,
just join the military right now, like if you don't want to go to school, it's a good secondary option. And then once you actually get into the military, you realize that, yeah, first maybe 4 to 5 years of your career, that's the case. But once it becomes competitive, right, you're actually having to earn and chase that next rank. School is one of the fastest ways to
oh
actually do
yeah,
that. And
100%,
so
100%.
it's ironic after you give so much of your time, right, via contract, like where you're obligated legally, like you can go to jail if you don't.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it really
If
teaches
y'all
you the
seen them
value.
TikToks about that,
Yeah,
it's not a joke.
it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Yeah, it's not a joke.
But I think it really just kind of doesn't matter who you are. I think at some point, right, whether it's like at the 4 year mark, 10 year mark, maybe 20 for some people, right, like it really kind of cements the idea of how valuable your time is.
Mhm,
And once you see how much you had to give to something like an institution like the military, it makes perfect
mhm,
sense that like even if it's 50% of the energy and effort you've given or had to give in this institution, imagine going out and getting paid to essentially give just 50% of that to acquire something that actually looks good on you and helps you to be more competitive in the regular world, right? Like so it's kind of like, man, I ended up having to do 6 to 8 months of school at one point when I joined the military. Then I did like another
mhm.
year while working night shifts for 12 hours, you know what I mean, in my last unit. I was like, man, if I can do all that while, having a full-time career for the military, like, why would I not take opportunity to get out, you know, and get paid to go back and finish it and do more? So,
Yeah.
the school aspect, right? Car is a big passion for me. I'm from Detroit. Something a lot of people don't know. Shameless plug to my city, man. We are the home of the big three, right? So if you're a Ford, if you're a Chevrolet, or a Dodge guy, right? Which we're not gonna talk too much about what Stellantis has done to Dodge. That breaks my heart. But we're right.
They don't
We
make any more
V8 muscle cars. No, I think they're gonna
th-
come back though.
it's all electric now. They doing all electric. I don't even know. I
They
remember
are.
I
They
seen
are. They are.
last thing I seen it was like I think it was a Challenger that was like all electric and it had like the a simulation of the
The sound.
yeah, it wasn't like that. I ain't gonna lie.
I ain't gonna say nothing to get you canceled on your podcast, man.
Man,
Give
I
me
don't
or give
care,
me
man.
canceled
Look,
before I
man.
blow up.
Hey,
But
man. Say it.
listen,
Say it, man. I
you
don't care,
listen,
man.
man. V8 is a V8. All right, you're supposed to hear it. First of all, you're supposed to burn gas. All right, all you Tesla EV people, man, y'all take that shit to California. Um, but
For
yeah, we're home of
sure.
the big three, right? So a lot of people know, right? All three originated in the Detroit, Michigan, right? So like the
Mhm.
plants in the years of the car industry that were really booming, right? Like Detroit was leading that from the front, right? And then eventually, a few years back, Fiat, which is Italian based, right, bought out
Yeah.
Chrysler. So then Dodge kind of fell into them. Then Stellantis came, and then with the big push from the last I'll say 4 to 5 years to go electric, it's made it
Yeah.
hard for like Ford and Chevy to continue to produce, right? Those are muscle cars that have kind of really honestly kept a lot of folks in the military probably longer than they would have, right? That
Mhm.
stereotype is a little bit true too. If y'all wondering, a lot of folks in the military drive muscle cars. A lot of us, include
Man,
myself.
oh I ain't gonna lie. I don't have a muscle car, but I was one of them. Like I wanted a charger so bad.
We
I
all do.
wanted a charger so bad.
Yeah.
I still kind of do a little bit. It's
Interesting.
it's in the Dream car lineup. The Dream car lineup is RS7, and then look, I know everybody got they top picks, but leave me alone. I like the Audi RS7,
That's a good pick.
and the I cannot think of the name right now. It's a Cadillac.
CTS V
No,
Escalade.
Escalade.
Escalade. Okay.
Yes, I want a Cadillac
Escalade.
Escalade, and then something else.
I
Yeah,
want to go presidential, man. I want to go presidential.
yeah, yeah. Like
And,
those are
Cadillac is also owned by Chevy. So
yeah.
yeah, man,
I like all Cadillacs. I ain't gonna lie. I was actually
clean it
looking at
clean.
the CT5. I don't know if you paid attention to that. I'm not like super into cars, but I know a little bit of this and that. You know what I'm saying? You know,
1K jack all trades, man.
yeah, man. A little bit of everything. You
Yeah.
feel me? But yeah, man. Uh, man, I was about to ask you something, but I completely forgot. What was you saying
Well, I know
before?
we're talking about just the car industry, what I was gonna be doing right when I got out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
military. So that brings me back to my point, right? Always had a passion about the cars,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I'm gonna be selling cars, be a car dealer. Eventually, my goal is on my own
Mm-hmm.
dealership, but you got to start from the ground up. Nobody wants to buy from somebody that don't know how to sell, right? So
Yeah. So this is actually good practice, because he gonna be famous. You know what I'm saying? He gonna be one of the best car salesmen. So
yeah,
he was on my podcast first. So yeah. But anyway, so car salesman. I ain't gonna lie. Uh,
student, sure,
student,
student, yeah.
student. Um, so what made you want to like get into like car salesman specifically?
Well, working in behavioral health, man, I think I naturally had the gift of gab. I can run my mouth, bro. If you get me started, I can't stop.
Yeah,
You just got to
yeah,
get
yeah.
me going, though, right? And you spend 7, 8 years working and talking consistently for 8 to 12 hours a day with other people about their problems and trying to find
Mm-hmm.
solutions. You just get very comfortable, kind of being a person that people come to, right? And I think you notice
Yeah.
about me, like I've never been shy. I'm not one to hesitate to start a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm pretty talented at being versatile, where I can kind of put myself in people's shoes or be what people need me to be for a conversation.
Yeah.
But you just get to a point where you just don't want to deal with people's personal problems on a daily, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know my own personal passion for cars, right? I love to keep a nice car. That's just something, an expense that I'm willing
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
do whatever to maintain. And I was kind of like, what's something that feels so passionate for me that like it doesn't feel like work, but I can still
Mm-hmm.
use the skills that I've actually had to invest 7 to 8 years of my young adult life into. And I was like, man, I really feel like I could sell water to a well, so why don't I just sell cars? You know?
100%.
That's when I just made that decision, man. And a lot of people, it's funny because they all have opinions like, oh, you're gonna get out of a stable career, you're almost halfway there, like to do something
Mm-hmm.
so risky or hell, that like it's entry level that you don't need a degree for. Um, but I think the biggest difference between me and the average person in that industry, right? And I say this from my perspective as a customer, right? Obviously not a
Yeah.
salesman yet, but I've been blessed to own about 6 cars in less than 7 years. I've come from nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, the most of those processes are usually the same, even if the guy's a little more professional.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think people are really that passionate or have your best interest genuinely at heart.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is focusing on quality over quantity, right? Not just from a sales aspect, but even the type of person I'm dealing with in the car, right? Because I think an important part of being a salesman too is knowing that not all customers are good customers. And so, the
Mm-hmm.
greedy guy, I think he comes in looking at saying, hey, how many cars can I sell? AKA, right? How many people can I entice to come into my
So you said not all customers are good customers.
yes.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Um, I think it's important to know that you have a right as a person in position that's trying to convince somebody of something,
Mm-hmm.
that at any point in time you still have the right as the initiator or the the aggressor, if you think about how transactions work,
Yeah.
to know that you still can say, hey, you know what, I'm not comfortable going through with this for whatever reason, right? Whether that's this
Mm-hmm. Of
person's
course.
credit is too shaky, or you feel like they're going to be a flight risk as far as keeping those consistent payments up, right? Or even more importantly, just like Even if you're worried about how it is they're obtaining the funds, right? Like,
Mhm.
but I think with every aspect of life, you got to be willing to just tell certain people like, hey, I got a certain standard or I got a certain way that I conduct my business, and I'm not
Mhm.
willing to bend that just because you're offering me an opportunity to extra sell or a few extra dollars this month on commission. You know what I mean? So, and I
Yeah.
think personally, I've been that way even in my own businesses and like how I treat things. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I love money like everybody else. Yeah, I love fly things. Yeah, I love, going on trips, like things that the average human loves. But like, I'm never willing to compromise, my standards or to be greedy or jump at something if it just don't feel right, right? Like, and if it just don't feel right, once it doesn't feel right for me, like I'm willing to be like, nah, I'm okay, like I'm done, you know.
Mhm.
I think that's where a lot of people in every industry just kind of like fuck themselves up because even once they start to get that feeling, they're like, but no, I can make this or I can do this. Sometimes you got to know
Yeah, for
when it's
sure.
not the right time.
So I also mentioned at the beginning of this that this man is a fashion enthusiast. Uh, I've never heard him call himself that, but I'm calling him that because it's just true. So your fashion, your style, I know you're really big on clothes
Yeah,
and just the way you dress, the way you
yeah,
present yourself, and you got both lanes in your hand. You can pull up one day and wear some fly shit,
yeah,
some J's, and then the next day pull up in some dress shoes.
yeah, yeah.
So you got both ends of the ball. So where do you feel like where do you feel like that comes from? Like, did you grow up with people that like was wearing what you was wearing? And don't get me wrong, like we both black, so I know we like I was most likely influenced by some of the same things,
Yeah, yeah,
but more specifically, I remember going to school, right, and I was telling you earlier how I went to Payless. My mom took me to Payless and got me them Shacks.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? If you ever wore Shacks, shout out to you, man. Cause look, I had some black and red some black and red Shacks. There was red on the
yeah,
bottom. There was
yeah.
black on top.
We came a long way, man.
Yeah,
Came a
yeah,
long
came a
way.
long way. My shoes is dirty right now, but that's by choice. Anyway, some black and red Shacks. I remember people used to step on them all the time, but I still love my Shacks. But uh, then when I got my first pair of Jordans, I was hyped because I'm like, your boy done got the J's. You feel me? And then when I finally was able to get some Nike socks, because I used to wear them and one socks. Shout out to you if you know what and one socks are, because I used to be wearing that stuff. So that kind of stuff was like my older cousin. He used to be like, man, like this. I used to look at what he was wearing,
Yeah,
and be like, man, he got the foams.
yeah,
People don't wear foams no more. I ain't gonna
yeah,
lie,
yeah. We
man.
passed the phone
Oh,
generation.
man, I feel like that shit came and went,
Yeah, it did
but
go fast.
um, I still see them every now and again. But they ain't really releasing. They ain't really releasing like they used to. I could never get them anyway because they was $230
They were like, yeah, they were back then.
on
The phone
release.
was up there, man. Yeah,
But to circle back around, that's where I got how I want to dress from. Because I seen my older, my older people around me, dressing this way. I'm
right.
like, yeah, that's fly. I like that. So was it the same for you, or was it more like I don't care what y'all wearing. I like this. This is what I'm putting on, and then that's what it is.
I think it. I hate to say it that way or sound cliche, but I think it mostly obviously came from like most people, right? Like kind of whatever was trendy, fashionable in our
Mm-hmm.
culture is like hip hop and rap to a degree, with a combination of kind of like seeing what the kids who just had a little bit more, income were able to afford, right? But it started for me, I think it progressed from like shoes. And then once I was able to work my way up into the military, right, or build consistent income, like where, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I could afford to get the release at least every other month, right, if I
Yeah.
wanted it. There was a point that came, it was like, because when you first working your way up, bro, if you're private or you just starting to get a little money in your pocket, like
Mm-hmm.
checks went in where you can go like get the shoe and a fit and then something, right? Like
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
usually
For
pick
sure.
one or the other, right?
100%.
So I might get a release one check, and then I
Mm-hmm.
might wait until I can afford to go get an outfit, and then we
Yeah.
bust that fit out, right? And then you acquire about 4 or 5 fits, right? Then you maybe rotate. You know how that go.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to a certain level, right? You build money up. You learn a little bit about managing things and just budgeting. Where
Yeah.
shoes just be kind of like you only get them when you want them, right? Like, but you can afford to typically get them whenever you want. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was like, man, once I really started to build up enough liquidity, I was like, man, I can actually go buy a nice piece, right? And then it's kind of like one of those things where
Mm-hmm.
it's like out of sight, out of mind, right? If I can't afford to be looking for certain things, I'm personally not going to invest any time in looking at them or looking for them, right? So I never really started focusing on my fashion at a higher level until about 3 to 4 years ago. And then what had happened was like even my resale brand, right, with the Ziairecloset, and my inspiration from that became growing up poor, right? I always knew what it was like, and I always remember that feeling, and just being
Mm-hmm.
grateful like that I didn't have to be there anymore. Where uh, I never wanted to give right homeless people like money because right, there's a lot of times you worry that they'll abuse that, go get alcohol, drugs, whatever, cool,
Mm-hmm.
but they just won't make the most with the money, right? And so what I was taught at a young age was keep like a pair of shoes or some clothes in your trunk, offer that, or offer to go buy them a meal, right?
Yeah.
But like don't give them cash. And then one year when I was still living out in Augusta, Georgia, I remember I was giving a guy a pair of shoes, and I was just curious because I couldn't think of the name of him. Not that he probably cared, but you know me, like I just wanted to
Yeah.
know. And I seen StockX, which shout out StockX is actually that was created in Detroit as well, man. A lot of hidden
Oh,
gems, a lot
really?
of
Oh, see,
a lot of
I
hidden
didn't know
gems in
that. I
Detroit,
didn't know
man.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
StockX originally is originated in Detroit, man.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
I didn't
I
know
think I
that.
looked on like StockX and I seen the price they were going for. I was like, how are these shoes worth this much? I remember buying them at an XYZ price. I think they were actually the
Yeah.
Bretto ones. I had got the 2018 release when I first joined the Army. I was still in San Antonio, Texas. Obviously, kept them clean, had them over time, and you know, y'all gonna clown me for them. Keep it real because I like to keep it transparent. I like to try my best to keep it solid.
Got to.
Uh, right. I had plenty of shoes in my trunk I would keep, and I'm not gonna lie. Once I looked at the bread toes, how much they were worth, which if you're a sneakerhead, you understand. Like real deal, legit bread toes. Like at
Yeah.
the peak of the sneaker seasons, or excuse me, at the time of the year, right? It was like 2020, 2021. It
Yeah.
was going for like 570. Uh, I just couldn't bring myself to give him that specific pair. I did give him another pair of shoes, of course, but I was like, man, I wonder if this shoe's worth this much brand new. I wonder what it's worth even used. And so then going
Mm-hmm.
from StockX helped me find GOAT, which people may be familiar with, and I think they were
Yeah.
still going
Go.
for like between 300 and 400 in
Yeah.
my
I've sold
size.
shoes on both
Yeah,
StockX and Goat. So yeah.
and so that's what helped me to decide. I was like, man, I've gotten to a stage, pretty blessed. Like I got like probably 30 pair of shoes, right? I mean, even now
Yeah.
in my room, I keep shoes, man. But back then, I didn't give up shoes. I was a hoarder because growing up, I never had this amount of
Yeah.
things, and I was like, man, what if I just sold a bunch of these shoes? I wonder how much money I could make because I mean, we wear boots every day, right? And on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
like you get to a point, man. If you're a sneakerhead, you get it like you got 30, 40 pair of shoes, but you only got 4 or 5 in rotation. And that's if you
Yeah.
get to wear them right, depending on what you do, right? If you work in a hospital
Mm-hmm.
or doing certain things, you're not wearing them every day anyways. And so I decided to sell like 70% of my collection. I kept
Mm-hmm.
like 3 or 4 pair I really liked. I sold all of them. And then the process of selling them and putting them on all the different platforms actually taught me kind of that return on investment. And then more important, like, dude, if I take all these funds, I know the process for distributing them now. What if I go try and find other shoes at a
Mm-hmm.
lower price even than what their price they go? And then I started researching, right? Started changing my algorithms on social media and learning like how to consistently do that. And that's how I got into reselling.
So that's where it. That's where Zaire's Closet came from.
Yeah, keeping in mind,
Um.
right? My motto's always been fashion made affordable because I think my biggest thing as a business owner is always to try and be competitive. Is you never want to have the highest prices, right? I mean, of course, there's times where if you understand the value of something, you just gotta know what it's worth. But
Mm-hmm.
um, as long as you're able to be in the green, you see profit, right? Like you don't want to be the guy charging top dollar. And I always pride myself on it being affordable, including that still being my model to this day because I remember the days when I first was getting a little money. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't going there looking for dead stock shit, right? I wasn't going there looking for designer everything. I was balling on a budget. And at some point, we all ball on a budget till we get to a point in life where we just do it.
Mm-hmm. So Chief Executive Officer of Zaire Closet. When did you actually like start the? And I know you guys can't see it, but his actual logo and banner is up there. I'll put a link to his Instagram in the bio, personal and the or unless he don't want it, personal and the one to that page because I know you can't see that, but
Mm.
Yeah. So when did you actually like start that? And
2021 COVID.
hmm
Yeah.
so like, was it like, because I know you said you were reselling,
Yeah.
right? So was it like, man, should I just turn this like how did you think of like I should turn how did it go from I'm just gonna keep reselling on Instagram to let me make this into a store?
Um, just the growth, how fast it was happening,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that it was one of those things like the desire was at an all-time high. Because you got to think about like during COVID, people were shopping online more than ever,
Oh yeah,
right? Because like that
100%.
that period in life, I think a lot of us now we kind of growing out of it, but I think a lot of us spent a lot of time reflecting on how COVID changed us. Like
Yeah.
that's where e-commerce, I think personally, and just a lot of that, like even TikTok, like so many things that were based on the internet took an exponential leap because people had no choice but to utilize it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we weren't outside as much, we weren't touching one another, being out, being present, and even shopping, right? Like stores were closed. If you needed something,
Mm-hmm.
which let's be honest, right? Maybe controversial, maybe you shouldn't have needed it because you shouldn't have been outside. At least that's what the government tells us. Um, right? But if you needed something, the odds were you weren't going to the store to get it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so once I kind of learned how to use these platforms, I just seen how easy it was to just ship, right? You get person, you build trust, you're able to,
Mm-hmm.
you mark a listing or a pricing for something, they buy it, you ship it. I was like, man, there's a lot of profit in this. Like I was looking at the profit margins, and I think especially remember when dunks were really hot. Like I remember
Yeah.
being able to like get dunks, it's like sneakers apps or building some networking where I was like going to outlets or even in store, a guy would hold me a pair or two and like I was getting for retail like 90 to $100.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these in that market at the time were going for $200 to $400, like easy. I mean, you do the math, right? Some of those were 2x, 3x profits. You know what I mean? And once I got that capital the first time, and then I just was really decisive on like what kind of kicks am I looking for, right? Slightly used, right? Like 9 out of 10 condition, or we call it VNDS, which is very near dead stock.
Mm-hmm.
And then being like, hey, if I can convince a guy like, hey, you don't really need these, I'll give you 75% what they're worth for 65, and I throw it below
Mm-hmm.
30 to 40%. If I'm making $50 to $100 a pair at least, like that's a good profit margin. Because if you do that 10 times, you got an extra 500 to 1,000 in capital. And I think a lot of guys in that time in the resale world, especially because I built that clientele and that networking so fast, like they
Yeah.
were definitely understanding like the value in it.
Yeah, man. I think I told you before my first job was at Foot Locker. I
Yeah,
don't know if I told
yeah,
you that.
you did. We
Yeah,
talked
man.
about
I
that.
remember the resellers used to come in there all the time and try to buy up all the shoes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, that was probably one of the smoothest jobs I ever had. Being able to sell shoes
Yeah,
because I was into shoes so much. So, needless to say, come from a rough past.
yeah.
So, how does that? How do you feel like that uh affects how you um want to grow around family specifically?
Hmm.
Because I know you're a family oriented man. How does that? How does the way you grew up and going through being a foster child and everything? Um, how does that make you view uh having a family in the future?
Breaking generational cycles for sure. Just definitely not wanting to
Mm,
repeat the same cycles that you were a victim to. And it's funny because I'm gonna say, man, I'll take that as a compliment, bro. Like to be called a family oriented man now, I think to see where I am as a man. But
mm-hmm.
growing up, I was the complete opposite, right? I think how I was raised, and a lot of my experiences made me very detached from the aspect of family, and I just had a very obscure kind of view of what a family was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that goes back to the army piece from the beginning, right? You spend 7, 8 years of your life away from your family, right? And trying to work around 10 to 20 other leaders' schedules to plan
Yeah.
time to see your own. At some point, it kind of lights a fire under your ass. So, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, if all those feels right, whether it was war, whether I get kicked out of the military, whether something happens, whether I die, right? Like, family is the only people that are going to more than likely be there. And that's where I think you start to realize, like, if you're not a family oriented person, you need to learn how to be. And unfortunately, a lot of times I think for people,
Mm-hmm.
whether you struggle with it or not, that realization doesn't come until you're thrown into the real world or something like the army, right? Where you're across the world and you're trying to build a new
Yeah.
family. And unfortunately, you realize a lot of people just aren't going to be that, you know?
Yeah. I know for me personally, being so far away from home definitely takes a toll on the mental.
Yeah.
Because I'm away from my family. I know, like, to people that haven't ever lived in a foreign country or have never been in a foreign country for an extended period of time, um, you might think about it as if it's a vacation, you know. But I mean, understand that we're over here. We're not just on vacation 24/7. Working, and we also miss home. Like I personally, like I'm also a very family oriented person. So I think about my family. I miss my family all the time. So definitely weighs very much on me even now. I'm actually about to go see them soon, so I feel good about that. So I have
All right.
a couple words, right? And each one I'm gonna give to you, right? And I want you to expound on it and tell me what it means to you.
Mm,
I'm gonna give you 3 to 5 seconds to think about it, right?
okay.
You tell me what it means to you and what you yeah, what it means to you. Sorry, I keep just reiterating it. But
So,
yeah. So the first word is service. What comes to your mind? What do you think about that? Yeah.
the ability to give, create, or provide something that others can see the value in. And I think personally, it usually requires a lot of selflessness,
Hmm.
um, a lot of patience, and a lot of consistency. To be honest, you gotta be consistent.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. All right. Sacrifice.
Anytime you want to do something or you want to have something or you prefer something, but you also have to be realistic and understand that it's for a greater good, right? Or for something eventually that's going to
Hmm.
trump that, that you have to let it go. I think it's one of the hardest things that we deal with as humans personally, right? Whether that's from like a religious standpoint, just every day,
Hmm.
from a value standpoint. I think even, bro, just like our health, right?
Yeah.
We just have to sacrifice, right? It's tough. It's tough for sure.
Okay. Duty.
That one's tough for me because, right, us being in the military, it gets thrown around so much.
Yeah.
Um, but I think duty is subjective.
Mm.
But I also
Okay.
think duty is scary because, right, the guy that's labeled according to terrorist just thinks he's doing a duty, right? The person who's going to tow your car if you're late or you're defaulting on your payments, is just doing a duty, right? The duty he was given. But I think the scary part about duty is that from every person's perspective,
Hmm.
it can be viewed one way or another.
Okay. Okay. Community.
Is what you make it and what you contribute to it.
I really like that. I really like that because that's not what I thought you were gonna say. I mean, you say community, first you think about, the people that are around you, and it's kind of like when you think about community, you automatically think about the people that are around me and how you are a product of, your community,
Mm,
which we all are to some degree.
yeah.
Um, but you said
Is what you make it.
what you make it, right? Sorry, mine went left.
Okay.
But you said what you make it, which that's different, and that really caught my ear because I'm
Mm,
like, well, yes, you're a product of your environment, your community, but here it is, you've been away from home for so long, so you've been forced to create a new, community around yourself. And I think a lot of people may not realize that it's possible to create. a new community around yourself. Like if you, for anyone who is like scared to leave home or, you know, want to do something else with their life, but they don't know what steps to take, or they're, you know, fearful of that first step to go forward with something, or just learning how to behave differently and learn new skills. You know, it's all about building that community around you, you know, of individuals that can really take you from where you are to where you want to go. So I think that was very powerful. All right, reward.
I think it can be programmed.
Hmm.
Um, I think they constantly change, and
You said it could be programmed.
mm, everyone's ideas. To me, I think it is very similar to
Hmm.
duty, right? And ironically, I think they kind of have this inverse relationship because
Hmm.
a lot of times people build a sense of urgency to fulfill duties in hopes of getting X, Y, and Z reward.
Yeah.
But for every person, that reward may be different. And I think a lot of times it's all about what you've been programmed to view as a reward. And I think people, and as I'm getting older and learning, like the people who are truly successful have programmed themselves to believe things that most people will look at as sacrifices, ironically,
Hmm.
they're rewards for those people. And like, right, so you think about, I know you're big on the gym. Um, some people, right, just look at it and view it as like, I just don't see how living an extra 5 to 10 years of my life, right, is truly that rewarding if I can just do everything I want and not
Yeah.
put in an extra little bit of work for, 30 to 50 minutes, 4 days a week, 3 days a week, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's the thing about rewards, like they can be programmed. Right? In the Army, I think we've been programmed to a degree to believe certain things are a reward. Um, but in reality, like people who never join may look at other things as just rights
Hmm.
or just entitlements, you know? So,
Yeah. Just to slightly caveat off what you were saying.
mm-hmm,
I made a post on my Instagram a while back, but it says to love the progress and not or love the process, not the
mm-hmm,
progress. And this kind of relates to me personally in this situation because um, I can post this video and it can get 0 views, which is the probability. It's just the probability, just being real. But I'm okay with that. Like I'm really okay with that because this this is the reward. You know, this is the reward. Like I enjoy doing this not because I'm trying to make money, not because I'm trying to get views, not because I'm trying to get a bunch of attention. Like I enjoy doing this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do want to grow. Like I like don't get it
yeah,
twisted.
yeah,
You know, I definitely want to grow this podcast. Like I want the Friday special podcast to be a thing. It sounds like it should already be a
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I was when I went to go type in. Sorry, I'm getting off track a little bit. But when I went to go type in, when I went to make my Instagram for the page,
That's too unprofessional, man.
no, no, no.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
man.
go ahead. Uh, when I went to type in my Instagram for the page, I was like, man, what? Like, how is this not already a thing? Maybe it is, and I just haven't seen it, but I ain't seen it nowhere, so I'm claiming it. This is the only Friday special podcast. But anyway, um, like this, just doing this, doing something that I enjoy, like this is my baby, you know what I'm saying? Like when I post about this, it's like this is something that is separate from my day-to-day career, you know, that no one has control over, no one's telling me what to do with it. You know, I have full complete creativity here.
Mm,
And I think that is that is why I love doing this. Like that, and I get to do so many things like network and just it gives me an
yeah,
excuse to come out of my bubble and talk to people. You know, even just sitting and talking, like I was talking about earlier, about talking in front of a camera,
Yeah.
um, is me coming out of my comfort zone because it's something that I was not comfortable with, and I'm still finding myself, getting a little comfortable with it. But um, I definitely enjoy doing this. The network connections that I've made, and the way I've been, driven to go to lengths to like make this happen.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So reward. All right, last but not least, strength.
Mm. I think it's something that at its peak is truly found from within, but it only comes genuinely from failing. I struggle. My relationship with the gym is a little bit toxic, right? But
Mm-hmm.
all right, there's so many different aspects of strength, but I think the thing that's most interesting that I've really kind of drilled into my mind the last, I say, 2 years as a
Mm-hmm.
man is that like you only build more strength from being willing to fail, right? It's like when you think about you going for a PR in the gym or on the bench or you're working out or even a
Mm-hmm.
run, right? Like you don't know when you've achieved a new level unless you failed to previously reach that level. I think
I agree with
and I
that.
think just the difference between the people who are most successful in life are the people who are willing to fail
Mm-hmm.
to see just where they currently are strength wise versus the people who rather just hide behind a screen or hide behind whatever facades and never actually try and figure out where they are strength wise, whether that's mental, physical, spiritual, like any aspect, right? But I do think that strength can be built in a lot of ways. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things for me as a businessman, right, and like trying to grow as a leader, right, being a CEO, being somebody that's kind of been thrown to the forefront of things, right, not just the army but in life. Uh, Something that can make you very strong is also just being transparent about where you're weak and
Mm-hmm.
finding people who can fulfill those gaps, right?
That's good.
That's just the reality. If you're not good at public speaking, well, then you should be willing to invest the extra money, effort, or time into finding somebody who is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because depending on how weak you are in the area, if this person is truly naturally exceptionally strong in that area, they're going to be the difference between you being successful in your vision and you fail.
Yeah, 100%. Um, and there was something you said in there about strength, right? I seen this post, and it was I actually wanted to make a reel to it, but I never got around to it. I do need to make more reels and post them on my Instagram. I really enjoy doing those. But he said, and I'm not quoting exactly because I actually don't know the guy's name that said it, but these are not my words, just so I'm not stealing anyone's wisdom. But he said, what if the pain uh was not hurt but help? And when he said that, that blew my mind, right? Because what you just said about strength, you know, about how it comes from pain, you
Mm,
know, and it does when you're in the gym and you're breaking down those muscles, it creates that strength, because they're built back stronger.
yeah,
And thinking of pain as being something that is to help you, to mold you, you know, to make you a better individual, a better man, that's something that I had not thought about in that way, up to that point until I
yeah,
heard it. Because it's like, man, ain't nobody ever said that. Like, pain is help. Like what?
yeah,
But it 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 really can be, because I would not be who I am today, you know, um, had I not been through so much pain.
yeah,
You as well, you would not be who you are, had you not been through so much pain, you know. And not only just going through pain, but learning how to navigate through it and be better on the other side. Because
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that done went through a lot of shit, you know, and ended up in a lot of different places. You know, some dead, some in jail, some right back where they started.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone comes out further, you know, better than where they started. So I think that and that is an achievement in itself to sit here to be able to sit here and really like self-reflect and take the hurt that you've been through or that you went through, especially in the moment, and to sit there and be like, man, uh, how can I be better than this? How can I move forward from this? And it doesn't always it almost never happens, you know, instantaneously. It's one of those things where it's like, man, it's like over time.
Yeah.
So do you feel like your faith ties into that, like for you personally, into being able to grow from the things that you've been through?
I would say no,
Okay.
being transparent, but I think I would say probably God's love for me
Hmm.
personally, even with my ignorance.
I
You
appreciate you
know,
being honest.
yeah,
Yeah. If the
even with
answer's
my
no, yeah.
ignorance in regards to that, when I think about who I am, right, and a lot of my confidence, right, I have a delusional
Hmm.
belief of self, but a lot of that also comes from experiences, right, my ability to bounce back, and I won't even say my ability, but maybe God's gives to me to have the ability to bounce back from stuff to
Hmm.
come from rather rough and humble beginnings to still make it to where I am in life. That you know me on a more on a personal level,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think that alone has continued to push me to understand now more than ever that like you're right. Strength comes from pain, right? Like and sometimes the best thing that can ever happen to you is just falling flat on your ass. But embracing that and getting rid of that victim mentality and then just taking accountability,
Hmm.
saying like I fucked up. Like there's no one I can blame for this. Or
Yeah.
no one's gonna get me out of this. Like that in the long run is like I think with God or whoever it is your higher powers, if that's what you believe in, right? Or
Hmm.
anybody who is exceptional in life wants to see from a man that wants to be the best version of himself. And so I think for me personally, that's just where I'm at. And because I'm able to kind of reflect now, think about all the things that I've seen, responsibilities I've been given, right? A lot of the opportunities I've had, uh, even after fucking up, even after falling on my ass, it
Yeah.
lets me know like those are just strengthening moments and opportunities for me to grow stronger. So you get to a certain age, I think, especially as a man, and some people might call it jaded, but you're just like, hey, bro, it's just another hill. I just got to get over it, right? And what goes up must come down, and vice versa. So you just gotta ride them ups and downs and those waves. And be grateful. Be grateful when you're falling down, and be
Hmm.
grateful when you're going up. And do your best to never laugh at the guy that's down because more than likely you've been there. And also remember to never get too comfortable when you up because 9 times out of 10 you gotta come back down, even if it's for the moment.
That's what's up, man. So appreciate you
Appreciate
coming
you, bro.
on, my boy.
Oh
Yes,
my God,
sir.
oh my
Yes,
God.
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. We're gonna go ahead and cut it right there. Uh, there goes my timer. Look, man, this raw footage. You feel me? I ain't gonna cut that out. We just
That's
gonna
tough.
leave that
That's
in
tough.
there.
Right on time though. Right on cue.
Yeah, right on cue. I don't know why, but for some reason, every time I record podcast, it always. I never set a timer. This is the first time I've ever done that.
Mm.
But I just have a sense, like I just know when it's been like an hour. Like I don't try to make my videos an hour. It just I don't know. It just happens like that. But this
Power
time,
hour.
yeah,
Power hour.
power hour. But this time I know he got to go somewhere, so I wasn't trying to make it like too long. So that's why I set the timer. But anyway, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Much love to you. Go
Yeah.
ahead and drop a like, drop a comment. please drop a comment. I will say I have received comments on my videos before. Some of them I read and I liked. Some of them I read and I was like, what? Like, bro, what you like? I ain't gonna lie. It was one time it was a comment and somebody was like, oh, I don't think you know fully what you're talking about. I ain't gonna lie. I did get offended. But if I'm gonna keep doing this, then there's gonna be a lot more of that. So I'm just going. I had to, brush it off the shoulder. But anyway, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, join the 1K family, man. I appreciate all you guys, and we are out.